who's ready for a monstrous Marvel movie update? We have been getting all kinds of news surrounding Marvel Studios' horror characters, including Moon Knight, Blade, and the Midnight Suns. So I thought we could do a quick mega report, dive into all these stories, how they kinda tie together, and what's probably really going on behind the scenes. We're getting reports of a lot of drama, but very little confirmation. Now before we do that though, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and ring the bell for all the updates. We do daily Marvel and DC videos. We want to be your place for all the superhero news, but we want to bring it to you truthfully and transparently so you are really in the know. Well, to be fair, since Phase 4 kicked off, we gotta be real. Marvel Studios has had some struggles. It appears the ship is getting corrected, but there are some existing projects that still seem to be ailing a little bit, and a lot of that seems to be coming from the Marvel horror corner of the world. Now, rumors are swirling about this world of Marvel horror characters, and we recently heard from Moon Knight himself, Oscar Isaac, talking up to Midnight Suns and his excitement to be part of that team. This was almost immediately followed up with two other stories, one being a potential director for Midnight Suns, and another being the possibility of Mahershala Ali exiting the Blade project. So let's break down all three of these things and where I actually think they're tied together, because this could be a good example of clickbait and scoopers trying to reel everybody in based on one story. If you remember correctly, and we talked about it the other day, Oscar Isaacs dropped a quote the other day about Midnight Suns. Now, it wasn't an announcement, it was just that he had a ton of interest in the project. And in the report he actually said, I thought there was an interesting opportunities with Midnight Suns, there's such interesting characters in there, and now that we set the groundwork for learning who Mark, Steven, and Jake are, it could be an interesting opportunity to see him as part of a team and what dynamics that would be. So I think that would be exciting. I think for me, there's definitely hope that there's some room to explore that possibility. Now, when Oscar Isaac said this the other day, it got everybody talking. We actually did a full-on report on it on this channel. And this is where I always want to caution everybody to start being a little bit extra careful. As many of you know, a lot of the scoop culture that's going on right now is purely opportunistic. And quotes like this create very interesting opportunities, and I think these two follow-up stories definitely spawned from Oscar Isaac's comments. Oscar's comments are confirmed, but let's be clear, these next two stories aren't, and actually on one of them I've reached out to a couple people and it appears to be debunked. So let's talk a little bit at first about a potential director for Midnight Suns. Now, if you remember correctly, when Werewolf by Night dropped, it was directed by Michael Giacchino, and he brought the world of Marvel horror to life for the first time with what I consider a pretty big success. The black and white version of the holiday special was well received by fans, and actually this year we got a colorized version, which honestly I liked even more. Now, a Midnight Suns movie has yet to be announced, but Marvel Studios has been assembling somewhat of a roster of supernatural and magical characters that could potentially show up in a team-up. The team itself has a lot of characters associated with it, but it appears as of right now, the MCU, if they're doing this, would include Moon Knight, Doctor Strange, Werewolf by Night, Man-Thing, Blade, and maybe even Wong and Elsa Bloodstone, all of which would make one heck of an interesting team. Now, whether he will direct it or not, this is far from confirmed at this point. It is truly in the pure rumor stage. Although, honestly, he did such a great job with Werewolf by Night, he seems like the natural choice. My main concern is he's not that well established of a director, and trying to do a team-up movie with this many characters requires a certain finesse, and a lot of directors have failed at doing this. This is also a lesser-known franchise, something Bob Iger has made it pretty clear they're not going to be leaning into as much in the future. But to be fair, Marvel does like their team-up movies because they have such a better return, and they might be chasing Midnight Suns maybe sometime after Secret Wars. One of the bigger stars they could potentially have on this team is the Daywalker, and there is some nasty rumors going around surrounding that. Starting yesterday, we started hearing reports that Mahershala Ali was going to part ways with Marvel Studios due to the old creative differences, which is often a code word for behind-the-scenes drama. Now, we've gotten zero confirmation of this, and this feels like another one of those rumors tied to all this Midnight Suns talk. I did reach out to some of my sources, yes, we have a couple of sources, and tried to get an update on this, and both of my sources indicated that this story is completely not true, and that Ali is not only still with the project, but apparently quite happy with the current script that's being developed. As many of you know, the whole project basically got a Daredevil Born Again style reboot as Marvel tried to readjust with some of their quality problems. They've had a couple the last couple years. And as far as I can tell, this report seems to be coming out of, well, what I like to call confirmation clickbait. the Midnight Sun story with the director and this Blade story following Oscar Isaac's comments, that's where we have to be careful. Honestly, guys, many of these scoopers really do watch things like SEO, search data, and what people are talking about. And it often feels like many of these stories are more or less made up or assembled and released specifically to take advantage of the current conversation and social media trends. So be really careful with some of these reports because we really don't have any confirmation, and quite often they're completely opportunistic attempts to take advantage of ongoing conversations and capitalize on that instead of actually bringing you real news and real information. Giacchino would be a great director for Midnight Suns. It's not confirmed, and Ali seems pretty happy in Blade, so that departure also is not confirmed. Both would be major news, and when it makes it to a trade level, maybe we can revisit these stories. I'm very suspect of them both. Now, it's clear Oscar Isaacs is down, and having him down already for a potential project like this does help it move forward, but Marvel Studios and all their behind-the-scenes drama right now, I'm really unsure if they want to open the door to this today, although it's pretty clear to me they'll want to open it in the future, but that whole future is after this multiverse saga, so I think the most we're going to get in the next 2 or 3 years is our first look at Blade, and then after the Secret Wars soft reboot, I suspect we'll finally get to know the Midnight Suns. But if that happens, we're actually going to have to wait and see.